We have some interesting new news that has broken, and that is that the top law enforcement officer of the U.S. Virgin Islands is suing the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, that lawsuit has some very interesting new details about Jeffrey Epstein. It says that the U.S. Virgin Islands, this is where Jeffrey Epstein owned a private island, and it was, largely known as a place where he, trafficked minors. They say that air traffic control and other airport officials saw Epstein leaving his private plane with victims possibly as young as 11 or 12, that a lot of underage girls were close enough to be transported to his residence, that the U.S. Virgin Islands was unable in order to check on him despite the fact that he was a registered sex offender. But the most important part is that the allegations say that he was doing this as recently as 2018. So remember, that was years, I think, 10 years, 12 years after he was a convicted sex offender by the state of Florida.
After getting that sweetheart deal, and they let him go basically scot-free, and he's still allowed, allegedly, to victimize young girls. I mean, some of the details from this report that are alleged here are horrific. They say to keep his victims from escaping, Epstein confiscated their passports, he eliminated external communications, and threatened to hurt them, which just again goes to show you that even though he is dead, there is so much more that we need to know here. And these girls and women who were allegedly victimized here, they deserve justice. They deserve, at least some financial compensation, which can never make up for what they experienced. But I really applaud this Attorney General for going forward with what will be a complicated case, a very difficult case, and one in which many powerful forces will be up against her.
And again, this is so important to realize. What Epstein was using this Virgin Islands outpost in his own private territory to basically create a lawless place. There was another detail in the story, horrific, about a girl who had escaped after being sexually victimized. She had swam away or something. They took her back. They stole her passport and prevented her from leaving the island. I mean, these are horrific details. It almost doesn't even seem real. And he trafficked women from all over the world, young girls, all over the world to this private island. Now, how many people have been to that island? That's another question that we need to know. We need to look at all the flight manifests of all the people who have visited Jeffrey Epstein on this private island. Not that hard to determine. We need to know. I mean, please join me in tweeting #WhereIsGhislaine Maxwell, who was frequently with Jeffrey Epstein. She's been photographed with Prince Andrew and former President Bill Clinton. She's being allegedly hidden.
No one would know more about what really happened here than she
knows everything. She's the one who procured so many of these young girls, allegedly. And I think we need to find out more and more and more. And what's even really sad here is that why does it take a lawsuit for this to come out into the public domain? Law enforcement officials, the United States government, it needs to come together, and they need to put forward whatever, like the IG report. We need an IG report in how he was allowed to get away with this for years and years and years. And what are the structural fixes in our system to prevent 100 millionaires or whatever the hell he was from trafficking young women as a disgusting pedophile?
So many people looked the other way.
Yeah.
So many people knew things were going on that didn't seem right, knew of his proclivities. I mean, he was convicted. I mean, there was the sweetheart deal that was cut in Florida. That was on the record. And people just chose to look the other way because it was inconvenient for them, because they were profiting off of it, because they themselves were implicated in terms of having pictures with him, pictures on his airplane, pictures with some of these girls. So it was just easier to turn away. And what was the end result? It was horror, allegedly, for so many young girls.
Yeah, it really was. And I think we're going to be tracking this story very closely. We know that currently a judge he ruled that some documents in the Epstein estate still can't come out. So there's a lot more information that the government has about what happened here, and they owe us some answers. And also, they owe us an interview, or at the very least, some knowledge about where the hell Ghislaine Maxwell is, because she has a lot of questions to answer. And thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we're not going to let this go. We'll have more for you after this.